I'd like to entertain a motion to open this meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is open. We're here to listen to concerns and take input from residents regarding the recent operation of P.J. Keating's asphalt plant. I ask that you raise your hand, stand and state your name and address when you want to speak. And if you could please turn down the cell phones, that would be great. And I think we can go forward with this. There has been an abatement orders made and submitted, and P.J. Keating stating that P.J. Keating is stating that they are addressing them.
Because the background noise is kind of distracting.
Can somebody close the door, please?
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on, and we can take anybody's concerns. So if anybody wants to speak, we have a woman here that would like to speak. One other thing is that it'll be difficult to answer questions for the board where we're in litigation and actually being sued. So a lot of the questions will be directed to our attorney, Jeff Blake. So he will be, and may interrupt a few things, and we'll go from there. That woman had her hand up. Did you like to speak?
No, I was just signaling.
Okay.
Sorry.
I got a hand up there. Yeah, turn the cell phones down, please.
My name is Diane Abram. I live at 26 Pembroke Avenue. This morning, the smell was so bad when I went out to let my dogs out. My nose burnt. I have a year-old granddaughter there to take care of. I know everyone's complaining taxes will go up, but my granddaughter's health is worth more to me than giving an extra $100, $200. I'm retired. I have a fixed income, but I think my children and the people's children in town are more important than a dollar. I know Keating has tons of money, they can do whatever they want, but I think the people of Acushnet deserve more. When that asphalt plant was in the back, there was a slight odor, but there is such a terrible odor today, every day, that I don't think it's fair for anyone in this community to have to put up with that. I know I have a horse barn I wanted to put up. The town gave me a horrible time. Oh, you have to do this, have to do that, have to do this, have to do that. I ended up not doing it. I went to Mattapoisett. But this company, because they have thousands and millions of dollars, are allowed to do everything illegally. I don't care what anybody says, and I'll move to another place. I lived in Acushnet 60 years. My uncle was a selectman in Acushnet many years ago. This should never have happened. I don't know who's responsible, but I think it's up to our town fathers and everyone else to get on the high horse and complain.
Can I respond?
It's not fair to anyone. And, you know, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure everyone else feels the same. But everyone's afraid to speak.
One at a time, please. No
This is
interruptions
still
when
America.
somebody's speaking, or I'll close the meeting.
This
Okay?
is still America, and we still have a voice. Before everyone takes our voice away from us, please, town fathers, I know you're being sued. I know I feel bad, very bad for you. It should have never got to this point.
We didn't.
I don't know how it got to this point, but I know it needs to stop. Our children, who cares about a dollar? My children, my grandchildren are more important to me than any dollar I can give you or them or anyone else.
You guys clapping for me? No, I'm just joking. As you know, I'm Jeff Blake and I'm town council here. I have a couple of questions for you, if I could. Did you make those complaints to the portal?
Pardon me?
Did you lodge those complaints with the electronic portal that we use for complaints?
I don't know of an electronic.
Okay. Maybe after you can come up and talk with Joe and Pat about it. And the reason I say that is, what we're trying to do here is that portal allows you to make a complaint via the computer. It's typed in. The Board of Health will get that complaint, and so will Keating, so that there's a record of it. And I know that you just want results, and you don't care about records, and you don't care about all that. I get that. I 100% get that. But what we're in the process of doing right now is we're in the process of attempting to address these odor complaints. And by getting the data, you making these complaints, us going out and Keating going out and verifying the complaints, we're able to build and try to figure this out. I know it's frustrating, and I know you just want it over. But I just ask everybody in this room, there is a process, and it's a process so that both Keating and the Board of Health can both go out and verify. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but we need to verify it, and we need to go through that process. So anybody that has a complaint, please go there and lodge your complaint, and then both sides will be able to go out and try to resolve it.
I will be glad to do that.
Thank you.
I'd like to do one other thing. You're saying contact the company. Well, I want to tell you of an incident. This elderly lady that lives up the top of my street she's very Portuguese, had a very large piece of furniture fall off the wall. She called them and they told her, oh lady, you have homeowners insurance, go through that. Now, is that the kind of dealing we're going to deal when we call this line? Or is there really going to be a commitment of some kind?
I can't speak for Keating, although there's a couple of them here. I can speak for the town and representing the town in, I think, 6 different lawsuits that are out there. The town will take every complaint that you have very seriously.
Okay.
Very seriously. And I think that Keating will too. However, I just can't speak for them.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have a question in result to
Can you
that.
state your name, please?
I don't know if you can see me. I'm Karen Panad at 1 South Main Street, Acushnet. And my concern is the inability of people to be able to log on to that system. So I'm going to ask that the town let us use maybe the library, we do have a library, but maybe the facility so that we can have volunteers, I'll volunteer myself, to help people to log on to this program, because many people do not know how to use this program. And I've expressed this concern before. There are millions of people in the world who do not use Facebook, and they do not have computers and smartphones, and it's unfair for them to be senior citizens or unwell, or some people just aren't. I don't do well with computers, that's just the way it is. I think we should provide a service so that they can come in their own time and they can have someone assist them with these complaints, because you keep saying it's not going to change if we don't put it on this portal, and yet not everyone has access or the ability to make this complaint. So I think that's unjust. And I'd like to work with the town and make up some type of system so that everyone can say, elderly or just inept on the computer, can say, I'm going to make a complaint, and then they can come and we'll help them make that complaint.
There's just one thing that we could do is have that resident call directly to the Board of Health and ask for, and we've had that, so, I mean, that is a
But
big
is there
help.
someone that answers, or do they get an answer?
No,
machine?
we answer the phone at the Board of Health, and if no one's in the office, they may have stepped out for a short period, leave the message, and we will get back to you immediately.
Yeah, there's
It
somebody in
won't
the
be the next day, it'll most likely be within an hour or two. I can almost guarantee that part.
All right,
So I think
today
that
we've only had a minimal amount of these papers.
that'll make it a lot easier for
Right, but
people.
why, are you gonna mail out this paper to every resident in town so that they can file a complaint
could
because
do
they're
that.
unaware?
I guess we could do that. Joe?
I'm upset
know
because
about
they don't have a
Can we
voice
do that?
because you shut them down.
got the resources and all that.
That's
Well,
all
we'll
I-
find a resource.
Yep, okay.
Thank you. That's a great idea. I mean, that's gonna help a lot of
It's a
people.
great idea, but it's just a phone call and it doesn't solve anything.
But
They need
My
to
name
mail
is
these
Linda
out.
Skapit, 32 Clifford Street, Acushnet. And the first time that Keating came before the board, you all remember, I hope Joe, Mr. Maderas, David, you remember I was on oxygen. When they disassembled that plant, my oxygen level started to rise. Now it's back up the front, my sinuses are bothering me, my asthma's kicking up. It's not gonna be long before I'm back on oxygen. I've been off the ball and chain now for almost 18 months. This is my concern, that now that asphalt's back up and running, my health's gonna go back down the tubes. I had respiratory failure already, and now I know it's from them. They proved it by moving it, which they were not supposed to do.
Right.
I have a group online of neighbors that I've personally got into, you know, a group so that we can all facilitate what we can do as neighbors. We also have, excuse me, the Community Action Works is a anti-pollution company, and they're also working with us weekly to help us to solve this. So I know you guys, your hands are kind of tied because of the lawsuit, and, you know, we only have Jeff to...
I would like to address that.
Okay.
Just so that everybody knows here, we have lawsuits out there. We have appeals of cease and desist orders, and we have a claim of grandfathering. We have a civil rights action. But just so that you know, just because somebody sues a town for civil rights actions does not mean that this town stops working. This town will continue to work within the scope of its obligation and the scope of its authority. So, but the problem with it is that we can't just walk in and lock a gate. Keating is entitled to due process, and that is going through the courts. And I know that everybody would love to have it happen really fast. Believe me, I'm in your shoes. However, these things take time. So we are doing stuff. We have not stopped doing anything. As you probably recall, we have litigation out there regarding the quarry. There was a cease and desist. There's a soil board permit. There's a lot of litigation regarding the quarry.
I've been following it all.
The asphalt plant just fired up.
Right.
I mean, this has happened in the last month. So none of that prior litigation was addressing the asphalt plant and addressing the concerns.
Right.
Now, sometimes when these things first fire up, there are issues. And we are now getting all of these complaints. We are now in the process of trying to work with Keating to get rid of the odor and some of the other complaints that we're experiencing. So we are not sitting back and saying, oh no, we got sued, we can't do anything. Believe me, we are doing everything that we can, and we're doing it as we are supposed to under all the rules and regulations.
My next question, Jeff, is who's going to replace my car that has tar all over it?
That, again, that's, and you're not going to be happy with my answer to that question.
Probably not.
My answer to that question is, you know, the town is working to stop that from happening. Now, damages to your car from a private company are something that unfortunately is not going to be something that the town goes after. That's not really what we do. We try to prevent that stuff from happening. But if you have damages, you know, you have options for yourself as a private citizen versus a company that is damaging your property.
I have a hand up over there. Excuse me, Tom.
What is your name again? Linda Skapik. S-K-A-P-I-K.
Are you all set?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
My name's Kevin Smith. I live at 161 Lawson Avenue. Part of Linda's complaint here, we've been working on this for 2.5 years now? With the, or more, with the quarry. I mean, it's been
2017.
probably the last 20 years. I've lived here for 38 years. We have asked on numerous occasions, we want an independent air quality study outside of that quarry. I thought the state was in agreement to do that. Okay? Because all these people that are in that quarry, they're in sealed vehicles, they're inside buildings that are sealed, they're not exposed 24 hours a day like all the neighbors are to the silica dust, which is a carcinogen, and nobody's doing it. Where is our state senator and Chris Hendricks, our representative? They should be able to get this done for us and not put it all on the town.
I'm here on behalf of Representative Chris Hendricks. I just want to
Okay.
make that known.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
No,
I know
I
Chris
just
has
wanna
been
let
very,
you know that there
Chris
is
has been
a
very
representative here today.
involved. I haven't seen our state senator around.
Right.
And when I see him, I've been good friends with him, he'll hear it from me.
Sure.
But we don't see any results. 3 years? Now, this was the perfect time to determine. They've been shut down all summer, just moving the stuff up. So there's no dust, there's no blasting. be the perfect time to get a benchmark. What is it like without them operating? And now what is it gonna be like now that they're starting back up again? Once again, the DEP has left us hanging.
Pat, do you have?
They turned us down for the grant.
Turn this down for the grant.
Yeah.
All right, with respect to the air monitoring, through one of our lawsuits, we were able to negotiate with PJ Keating to get 6 air monitoring stations. We actually applied to DEP for a grant for additional air monitoring stations, and unfortunately, we were turned down by DEP. So there are air monitoring stations out there that do pick up silica dust, that do pick up smaller particles, respirable particles.
They don't do silica.
Well, they do the respirable particles. So that is something that you don't see right now, but we've done that. We've also had Keating, and I believe Keating has gone out and paved a lot of the interior portion of the quarry, again, in an attempt to knock down the dust. There is, if you look, at least when I drove by this morning, and I don't come through town very often, but when I do go through town, they're starting to sprinkle the roadways and the like so that they can keep the dust down. I understand what you're saying, and you know, there's some of this goes toward litigation strategy, so I'm not gonna go into in depth of some of the stuff that we are attempting to do, but I will say, your complaints have been heard, and through our negotiations and our stipulations, we have tried to address the #1 complaint that we had prior to the opening of the asphalt plant was dust.
Okay, can I respond to some of that?
Yeah.
One question I have for you. Have you ever been in there?
In the quarry?
Yes.
Yeah, I have.
With the piles? When the piles were there?
Well, I was in there 2 months ago, and I've been in there since then.
Apparently, from what I've been told, they have no inventory, and they don't know what they're making asphalt.
Well, I was also in there about a year ago.
Okay, well, like I said, I've lived here for 38 years, I've been in there, I've gone and purchased stone from them. The biggest problem with that, you can pave those roads all you want. Those trucks track, unless they go through a sprinkler, they track that dust back and forth. No amount of
We've
water
got a
is
wheel,
gonna-
we negotiated a wheel wash as well, for that exact reason. Listen, Pat and Joe are well aware of the issues, and through consultation with them, you know, it was all of us that negotiated that. So, yeah, we got Keating to install a wheel wash.
That wheel wash has been in there, it hasn't been mandatory, because some of the truckers that come in and out, they're worried that they're using dirty water, and it's gonna ruin their trucks, the finish on their trucks. That's fine.
All right.
But what's happening is you go back there, when you go out into the quarry, the other trucks don't, it's the quarry vehicles that are out there. They have the dust piles, the roadway is watered, the dust piles aren't. I went on a tour of it, we had a group of neighbors that were meeting with the quarry, and you go in there and you see the little tornadoes coming off the piles. Hose the piles. That was the biggest thing that they could have done to avoid all this crap. But they've refused, and they basically said, screw all your neighbors, we're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and we're gonna do whatever we feel like. You know, I mean, we look here too, and I know we're not gonna get into specifics with litigation. The town of Seekonk and the town of Attleboro just settled a $145 million lawsuit against a similar operation. Maybe we need to consult with them a little bit too.
Seekonk did?
Seekonk and Attleboro, there were 2 asphalt plants shut down, and they had a $145 million judgment.
So, just to pick up on where we left off, we have spoken with them, and we have secured through a stipulation a air monitoring program and a dust mitigation program. And part of that program is to water those piles.
The dust monitoring, is that outside the quarry or inside the
For
quarry?
right now, it's inside the quarry, but there may
It's a
be...
waste of time, just like it's always been.
but-
I'm sorry to say that, but that's a waste of time because they control all that information.
Well, I
They
just...
haven't been honest with us to this point. Why do you expect them to be honest with us
Amen.
now?
Amen.
I'm just explaining to you what we've done, and believe me, we're still in litigation, and we haven't...
I know you can't, you're not gonna say too
Well,
much to
no,
jeopardize that. I
but what
get-
I'm saying, though, is that the final outcome is not done yet.
Jeff,
Hopefully
I have
not.
a question. Jeff, I have a question. Doug Thomas, 25
Well,
South Main Street.
go through the chair.
Go through the chair.
Yeah, go through the chair.
Sir, I have a question for
Yes.
Jeff. Jeff, why is the town seeking a grant for these air quality monitors, when that should be something that the town requires them to provide
And they have. They've provided 6 of them.
within the facilities?
That's right. There is some debate as to whether or not the utility of being outside. There were some concerns about possible vandalism, possible, somebody going up and throwing dust in it. Now, I can tell you right now that we did apply for a grant so that we could get some air monitoring stations outside and likely in the neighborhood. And why we didn't get the grant from DEP, why, I don't know.
Because they don't want to get involved with
but-
this. This is a mess.
But still, I don't believe that issue, and this is all I'm going to say on that issue of us getting monitors is off the table. We're continuing to look into that so that we can have control over our own monitors in the areas of town where we want them.
I got a hand up in the back.
Cheryl Hall, I live across the street, 58 South Main. So I have 2 questions that you gave. First, you said that the current system does not test for silica. Did you just say that?
It does not.
So what is testing for the silica? Because that's probably one of our biggest concerns. First.
I can answer that question.
Go ahead, yeah.
So in researching Keating's permits, they allege that there is no silica in their rock.
So again, I think the point made that we should be taking steps to test. But the silica is known to be covered us, yes? And I just-
Just to elaborate on a little bit what Pat said, what those air monitoring stations do is they monitor for particle size, right? The smaller the particles, the easier it is to get down into our lungs and cause issues. So those, while they may not identify silica, they are identifying those small respirable particles that we are concerned with. And I forgot your second question was, why don't we do them outside of the quarry?
Well, I mean, yes, and so part 2 of that is you said that we don't know why the DEP did not approve them. I mean, no disrespect, but I feel like you should know that.
Well, first of all,
That's part of the process. So if I'm denied a permit, I want to know the reason why I'm denied a permit. Or if I'm denied a grant, I want to know why I'm denied that grant. Not simply, they said no, so let's throw them.
sure, but
They told us that there was no indication that the units were going to be used outdoors. So we responded back to the grant authority that the units were absolutely being used outdoors, and there's been no response to that.
When was that?
A little over 2 months ago.
So when do you reach back out? Like, what's the process? I guess that's what we want to know. Like, we keep hearing about process, and we keep hearing about timelines, and we understand that certain things are not shareable. I totally understand that. And we should at least at a minimum understand how aggressive or not aggressive you're going after this.
So that was a grant that was set up by Rep. Hendrick's office, and maybe Rep. Hendricks can intervene in that and find out why the town didn't get that grant. That would be helpful for all of us.
Just one, they just would like you to come to the podium when you speak because it's difficult for them to hear, for the cameras.
Okay, redo. Cheryl Hall, 58 South Main Street. I live right across the street. I've spoken before at these forums. I've talked about the amount of silica dust in my gutters in front of my house. I think when we talked, I think it was 3 years ago now, because it was well before COVID. I talked about having full wheelbarrows just from my front 90 yards or what have you of frontage in front of my house. The quarry shut down this past summer. I will tell you, it was the first summer that I did not have to run my pool 24 hours a day. I was able to use my pool without basically being like I was at the beach. So I am frustrated because I understand everything's a negotiation, and I've said from the very beginning, I've said it to folks in our group, I don't expect them to shut down. I think that that's really pie in the sky, but I do expect them to be good neighbors. When we met with them, they claimed that the new facilities, the new equipment would be absolutely odor-free. Remember that? They laid out this big proposal to us, odor-free. I leave my house at 5:45 in the morning to go get my workout in, and all I can smell is asphalt. I have not yet, and I will. I will start filing the complaints daily and throughout the day. But for me, the point is, that's what they proposed. That's what folks felt they were accepting when all else failed, and they've already proven in less than a month that they're not going to work collaboratively with us. So that's my frustration.
May I ask a question? This is a simple follow-up to a statement. You said 5:45 a.m. you smell?
When the big puffs of
Yes,
smoke
the
are coming
trucks
out
were
of
rolling this morning at 5 a.m. this morning through here like
And I don't know, so I don't know,
like a parade.
I don't know what this is, because I don't know whether it's just steam or smoke or what it is, but when I came home last night at 9 PM, I'm assuming because of the cooling of the air, the puff of smoke, steam, whatever it may be, coming out of the stacks, literally was just sitting all the way over PJ Keating, all the way this way, and all the way over to my home. Now again, I don't know if it's steam, I don't know if there's asphalt particles in it, because I don't know what it is, because that information has not been shared with us. So again, I think that, for me, a couple of things that we need, I feel that the town needs, is some more transparency around exactly
Can we
what's
turn that
going on.
phone down, please?
She's trying.
See, not
Thank you.
everybody is that great with technology. You know what I'm saying? That's my point, people.
Well, I did ask
We're
before.
not all that good.
I did ask before the meeting.
It's taken me a while too, you know?
So I guess for me, and again, I'm not speaking for everyone in the room, but I feel like I've been involved for a while, what we would want is some transparency around what is happening. And I know that you can't speak specifically to litigation, but just process, maybe whether it be a weekly post of this is what we're working on, or these are the issues that have been shared, so that we know. Because I know for myself, I feel like I'm in the dark until I happen to come across something, or something like this, which is, you know, we haven't done this now since we did the last one at the middle school, or the elementary school. That's all.
I was going to say that, you know, unfortunately in litigation, it moves slowly. So the weekly reports may be, yeah, it was the same as last week.
But that's okay, because at least then we know, like, not hearing anything for 2 months, to me, is unacceptable. You send in something, you send, even if it's a quick email to them, or, you know, whoever it needs to be, saying, what's the status? What's the status? What's the status? Right? If nothing else, it shows that as a community, we are committed to addressing this issue.
Understood.
If we send something in and then we go, all right, we'll wait 6 months for them to respond, they go, they don't really care. They don't really care on behalf of their community. They're just showing face to keep the community quiet. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing.
I don't want to
but
interrupt
that's the
you,
perception.
but I can tell you, unequivocally, DEP knows that this is a big issue for us. DEP is frequently contacted. And just so that you know, at least with respect to the asphalt plant was built, there was very little zoning permits that were needed. It's a by right use in that area. DEP issued the permits for that, and DEP is essentially the enforcing agent. So when there are issues that aren't nuisance type issues, we notify DEP. Now, when we get odor complaints, those are nuisance issues. And we have written at least two notices to Keating, letting them know what's going on. They have responded. We copy DEP on everything that we do. So they know that we are very concerned about this. This is absolutely on the radar, and I think that the representative can, and she's shaking her head back there. Believe me, we are keeping this on the front burner.
So I guess my point is, we need to know that on a regular basis. So whether it be a town update, a mailing, whatever it may be, we need to know that you are continually filing complaints, you are following up, you're reaching out to offices, you're doing things like that. Because otherwise, we're left feeling like, yet again, we've been sort of...
Well, understand the biggest thing that we're trying, what we try to do as a town for any business, is we try to work with that business to try to get it. So you know, so that's what we continue to do, is try to work with Keating. But, you know, I can tell you right now, having lived this now for the last 2 or 3 years, we are doing it, we are constantly going after this. It is not something, we have not kicked it off to the side at
Can
all.
I ask of the board that you develop some way of keeping us up to date? At least, whether it be a weekly, nothing has changed, but we're in, something, so that we're not left to these meetings that are, you know, when we sort of stir things up, right? When we start complaining, and then we're here to complain. I don't want to be somebody who's here complaining. I want to be part of the process. We try to be part of the process. So make it more transparent.
What we will do, and again, we've been trying to make everybody aware of things, but what we can possibly do in that portal, or however, we'll come up with a plan to inform the neighbors on a weekly basis on how we're proceeding. But like Jeff said, it's a slow process.
Understood.
And, you know, we're doing the best that we can, believe me.
It is, the one thing to remember is since
I'll get back to you.
2017, when the board brought everybody together to, you know, let them know that their intention was to move the asphalt plant, we've never stopped from what we've heard. I mean, just so you know.
All set. Thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen here. No, go ahead. Go ahead, that's okay. Name?
How unconcerned,
Your name?
Name and address.
Name and address?
Alan Baker, I live at the end of Lawson Avenue. How unconcerned Bluestone Quarry or Delcon or whatever they are is concerned with the neighborhood is, we have a tree across the street. It's higher than my house. Now the tree's tilting. Every time we have a windstorm, the tree gets worse. So I went over and I told Bluestone, I said, hey, I'd like to have you come take a look at this tree. I think it's in danger of falling on my house. And the guy said, yeah, sure, we'll be there. I'll be there tomorrow, 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock I was home. Nobody showed. Waited all day. Nobody showed. Called Bluestone. Yeah. Nobody showed. So now we get another little storm, right? And the tree moves another 12 inches. Now I'm watching it real close. So I'm saying to myself, that goddamn thing's gonna come down. So I hire a guy from Acushnet, a tree guy, it cost me $300 or $400 to cut back the tree and trim it down. We measured the tree, so it's 10 feet short of hitting the house. We cut it right there. Called Bluestone, nobody answered us at all. We cut up the limbs and all the stuff we took down and cleared it all out because there's a turnaround down there. And that was the end of that. But if you look at the turnaround, it's not black, it's gray. And the gray is from Bluestone Quarry. Now, we just had another windstorm the other day. So, I want to get an idea of what's going on with the trees around there. So I drive down the hill, and I went too far. And I got stuck in the mud. So I'm spinning the wheels trying to get out. Guy come down, woke me up, dove me out. But as I'm leaving, I looked at the ground. We had never ever had anybody from Bluestone Quarry dumping loads there, taking loads out of there, or anything like that. And it's all stone dust. And if you take a walk back into the woods, there's a pond back there. The kids used to take the pram from my sailboat, go back there, and they'd roll around, have a good time, right? You can't even get in there now. You couldn't even put a 5-inch boat in that water because it's so jammed up with stone dust. Really? And that whole area down there, you come along, and the deer come through there. And where the deer's prints are, at the bottom of their prints, you can see stone dust. And if you look at where there is a structural wall that slows down the wind, you can look and see where the actual lawn has grown up, because actually when we moved there 37 years ago?
40.
Okay, 40. We put the cement in, and it was about that far below above the lawn. Now, it grows over the top because of all the dust, all the crud from Bluestone Quarry. Now, I was a Class 1 operator, and I worked at Rochester Bituminous, West Roxbury, the graveyard up in Quincy, what's his name, C.P. Leonard, I think it is. And Bluestone Quarry is the filthiest quarry that I operated out of. Cape Cod Aggregate has got a wash station down there. They got a tube that comes out of there that's that big. And then they got one that comes up over the top. So when you drive out, if you don't go through it, you don't come back. If you turn around in the wrong place, you don't come back. You're out of there. The other thing is in the backyard, where I got trees, abrevieties trees, and after a rainstorm, in the backyard, you can see where puddles are, where you have stone dust that is washed in there. And I looked at it this morning, after that storm we just had. Now, they haven't been kicking out a lot of dust this summer, but the dust is still coming down off of the trees, onto the ground, and covering the back.
Thank you.
That's about all I got to say.
Hi, my name's Deborah Polchbeck, and of course I reside at 38 Clifford Street. I'm no stranger to many of these meetings. While many of folks are outside watching the beautiful colors of the leaves and enjoying the fall crisp air, we're afraid to go outside. There's a horrible odor that is strong and pungent. It smells like burning rubber, oil, God only knows what other chemicals we're inhaling. It's endangering our health, restricting our property use. Residents from every part of town have smelt this and complained, not just for us concentrated over here at the quarry. The smell is lingering and it's traveling. Several residents recently have observed possible asphalt on our homes, cars, children's toys. Again, we've been dismissed by P.J. Keating. They've stated to me, they must be paving nearby. When asked where, they couldn't answer it. My neighborhood hasn't been paved, nor do I observe any repair work. The possible asphalt on our property can't be from us. They're responsible for the invasion of these toxic odors. We all know it. They're neglectful. They failed to properly maintain and operate their facility in the past, and they're continuing to do so today. They're unreasonably interfering with the health, safety, peace, and comfort of our residents while destroying our beautiful town. It's a shame. It really is. It's a shame what's taking place here. I'm disgusted. They've recklessly operated in the past, and they continue to do so. Now, we're talking about air quality. You're telling me there's air quality monitors. Are they monitoring this toxic possible asphalt that's falling on our homes, our cars, and our children's toys? Could somebody answer that for me, please? Is it asphalt? Is it being tested?
No.
You're telling me there's air quality monitoring? What are they monitoring? The leaves falling from the tree? I'm kind of lost here.
The air monitors are for dust only.
For dust only? Okay. So how are we going to monitor what we're smelling? This burning rubber, the oil, this pungent odor. And Lord knows what it is. We don't know. We don't work there, we're not, educated in the field of producing asphalt. We don't know what we're smelling. All we know is it's horrible. My throat's burning, my eyes are burning.
I've been working with John Martin on that. I can talk about it if you want.
We have residents becoming sick because of this. I can't even use I'm afraid to go outside. I'm beginning to lose my voice.
Our health agent, Pat Hannon, is going to speak on that.
So, as part of that, Deb, we're working with a air quality expert, John Martin, Dr. John Martin. And I've asked John to come up with a sampling plan to detect volatile organic compounds and other hazardous air pollutants in the ambient air outside of the quarry. And that's being worked on. And when the plan comes in, it'll be presented to the Board of Health and will probably be enacted at that point. We are working on it. It's very technical.
What is the timeline on that? Have you put a timeline on it? Because if this doesn't work, you need to figure out Plan B, right?
The odor complaints only started in the last 3 weeks. The first day, the first odor complaints, I was on the phone with Dr. Martin saying, what can we do? Curbside, South Main Street, residence homes, what can we do to detect the levels as it travels through town? And he is working on that, and week, 2 weeks.
What are his credentials, Pat?
He has a
Dr.
PhD.
Martin.
He has a PhD in many areas of particulate matter, air pollution. He testifies in legal cases all over the country. He is a very busy guy, and we're doing the best we can with that.
Just as a note, I mean, again, the asphalt plant got moved, it just turned on, and the minute that it turned on, and we went into this potential thing that we had talked about years ago, as being we immediately started moving forward on it. Again, unfortunately, we didn't know what to expect ahead of time, that it was going to be odor, or, we talked about it in 2017, and we talked about the concerns about the asphalt plant moving up front. But at this point, we're doing the best we can, and understand that DEP says this thing's okay to run too. So we're trying to work through all that.
Well, we were promised a lot of things from PJ Keating, with the state-of-the-art technology and all the new equipment and all the new everything. And now here we are, months down the road, and we have asphalt falling on our property. The smell is horrible. It's horrible. You can't even go outside. I want to throw up. I got a headache. Nausea. It's not constant. It comes in gusts. You might have a window to run outside and sit and breathe some of your fresh air and enjoy your property and sit down for 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, woof, your nose is burning, your throat's on fire, you got a headache and you want to throw up. I feel like I'm in a bad dream. How was this allowed to happen?
So Deb, I've been to your house, I've been to
We're gonna
Linda's
die
house.
there.
Stay away from that.
We're also working with Conoco, our peer review engineer, to find an independent company that does stack testing, so that we can go and do our own stack test. We have that right under the law. DEP's permit allows certain emissions. Keating says they can meet those standards. We won't know they're meeting those standards until someone does a stack test. So that's in the works as well. And
I have to think, folks, that all this should have been in place because we knew it was coming. We're at the back of the train once again. Why, I don't know, because we knew it was coming. It was the writing on the wall. We were well informed that we're going to move to the front, right?
DEP issued the permit, and as part of that permit, they reviewed the technical data with respect to the smell, with respect to the pollution, with respect to chemicals that are being emitted. DEP said it was fine. Now,
So why is DEP not coming down and investigating the possible, and I'm
it's a great question.
being fair here,
That's a great question.
possible asphalt on my property?
That's a great question, and the representative is there, and maybe the representative ought to talk to DEP. But I don't represent DEP, we don't represent DEP. All we're trying to tell you is, DEP DEP indicated that through their technical review of everything, that this thing shouldn't be causing the trouble that it is. So we rely on DEP, and now that we are finding that it didn't work out quite the way they want, we are more in a reactive situation than we were able to be in a proactive situation. We, about 6 or 8 years ago, we rezoned that area to allow for that to be as of right zoning. The town, by a 2/3 vote, voted to allow it to go through. So, you know, some of the tools that we may have had, we didn't. And now we're in a situation where we're not responsible for issuing permits for this plant. What we are responsible for, though, is addressing nuisance complaints by you, and that's what we're doing. And as Pat pointed out, this just started happening. You know, I know that you're saying, well, you knew that it was going to be moved 3, 4, 7 years ago. Yeah, we did, but we didn't know that this was going to be the result. DEP is the permitting authority for that, and now that we're seeing what's happening, now we have to react, and we are reacting.
I have another hand up.
History repeats itself with PJ Keating.
It's unfortunate.
We're seeing it again.
And what about a fire suppression plan?
I have 2 other
Yeah,
hands up.
I just have, my other biggest, one of my bigger concerns also is the whole fire suppression. Our properties are so close, it doesn't seem like they really have things down to a science there. I know they're trying, and they make mistakes, and they try again, but you know, the whole fire suppression plan, they make a mistake with the fire, and there's an explosion or a fire. Our homes are now 357 feet from the explosion and the fire. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to get one more, because we spoke. Dave, can you come to the podium, please?
Roland Pepin, 64 Slocum Street. I just wanted to let you know that the odor is moving. At my house, for the last several years, I was calling the police department and the fire department to find out where the smell was coming from. It was almost like someone was burning electrical wire in the backyard, in my backyard. That's how strong it was. I have a pool in my backyard, and we swim in it every summer. My grandkids come and swim as well. I'm fearful of their life because of this odor. People say, well, it's only an odor. No, it's not only an odor. It's going into our systems. That odor is traveling. I don't know how far it's going. Do you? I think you should know. Anyone that has a smell that strong should worry about it, because it is very strong. Last week, I called the police department again. I didn't know where the odor was coming from. This time, it smelled like someone was blacktopping in my backyard. That's how strong it was. And that's almost a half a mile away.
Why didn't you call the Board of Health?
I didn't realize who it was coming from.
When things like that happen, you can't call the police department, you need to call the Board of Health.
It's there 1 hour, Tom, and it's gone the next.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You can't find out where, and you can't prove where it's coming from because of that.
So call the police department, excuse me, Tom, just call the, you know, that's fine. Call the police department, especially if it happens to be on the weekend, to report that. The thing that I ask is that you call the office, call the Board of Health office, you know, on Monday or Tuesday, whenever, if it happens at night.
Well, now
So
I have the number. You
we
gave out
know.
the sheet, so I will be calling, I'll tell you.
This way, we can at least get that call for service. So that stuff's documented at the police department, and we can get that information and put it into, you know, the documented complaints that we have. So that's why I just want to make sure, if you need to call, you call the police and
I just wanted to
make
let you
sure
know
that
that
we
it
know
is
about it.
definitely traveling, it's
Yep.
going far. I'm sure it's traveling close to your house, Tom.
Thank you. One, he's had his hand up.
Kevin Smith, Lawson Avenue. I'm going to go back to some of Cheryl's comments and how to inform people. We have a bulletin board in the front of the town. Put the number on there. We have a Facebook page. Just put the little blurb of information as far as there's no status change on what's going on with the quarry. Just little things like that. We have a town website. There's your 3 avenues. at least put the number there so people know if you have an issue, call this number. You know, whether it's in regards to PJ Keating or any other Board of Health, maybe Board of Health issue with the town. Simple, because everybody travels through the center of town. That's it.
Thank you.
Cheryl Bryan, 25 South Main Street. A few days ago, I requested from the Selectman's office and from the DPW to use the electric signs that we have, electronic signs.
Are you gonna make
Sign at South Main Street and Main Street about this meeting. The only thing that was put down was that COVID testing was canceled. How is that telling anybody about the damn meeting? It's not.
We did do a reverse 911 or a code red
No,
call on
I'm not talking
Monday.
about that, because not everybody got the reverse
Right,
911.
we talked about that. We put it on the town website, we put it on the Facebook page, we did a reverse 911 call on Monday, we did it again on Friday.
Right.
I mean, we really did try to go out of our way and to notify based
And I
on.
know a lot of people did not get the reverse 911.
Right,
And
because
there's been times when I haven't gotten the 911, the reverse thing.
Yeah,
And I'm on the list. But I get, and I've told this before, but I get calls about that kindergarten registrations coming up that I don't care about, no offense. But I'm trying to understand why it was so hard to put up a sign for a few damn days to let people know at South Main and Main how important this was to the neighborhood, to the town. It makes no sense to me.
We try to do the best we can, we'll try to do more. I mean, we just keep, that's why we're here.
Yeah,
You know?
but that's why we feel like we're not getting anywhere.
We put it, we put
We're
it
a
out
little
in a lot of
frustrated
places.
also
Yeah.
that we're not getting anywhere also.
I mean, I get it.
When you're in the living, I'm gonna speak.
Now, we
When
keep
you,
mentioning...
when we can't even speak today, it's unfortunate, because there's a lot of things that I'd like to say, but I can't, because we're being sued.
Here's my second question.
Pretty unfortunate.
You gentlemen keep mentioning about the DEP. Why don't you give us a number so that we can call? Because the squeaky wheel
Good luck.
gets the oil. If they can't get through the DEP, then we're going to.
Call the DEP.
Can we go one at a time, please?
Okay,
Are you all set?
okay, that's it.
No,
Thank you.
not good? Okay. Next.
Nancy D'Souza, 46 Larkeen Avenue. So there's what, 3 Board of Health members up here, or 4?
3.
3? So one deals with the asphalt plant on a daily basis. How about the other 2? Why we don't get nowhere with the Board of
What do you
Health?
mean we deal with them? We deal with them every day. You mean
Yeah.
deal with them with the health agent that goes in?
No, I mean
Oh,
going in there for supplies for your job.
Never go in there.
Okay,
I'm not in the business.
okay. I know number 3 is, because I've called him to my property, and he told me he couldn't smell it. Because they didn't add the perfume or some baloney.
Well,
So,
I don't deal with...
he's like
I don't-
useless.
I don't work...
Because he's not gonna do anything to help any of these people.
Well, I think he has.
Okay.
I think that that's unfair. I've worked with the Board of Health and the Board of Selectmen, and all of the votes that come out of the Board of Health with respect to orders and the like are not 2 to 1. They all have been very supportive of the efforts to try to go forward.
And how long have you been an attorney working on this case?
I've been an attorney almost 20 years, working on this case. I'm probably looking at almost 3 years now.
It was about 17 years ago when I called him to my property.
All right, well, a lot of things changed in 17 years.
Can I step up to the podium?
Okay, we'll just going one at a time, and we'll try to keep it down when somebody else is speaking. Please give them the courtesy.
Again, Doug Thomas, 25 South Main Street. I just, I'm overwhelmed with the moving of the asphalt plant from the back of that facility to the front of the facility. They've literally rubbed this community's face in it by doing that, knowing these problems existed. And they've created the ultimate monster now by doing this. The community is completely washed their hands. They have not been good neighbors. We've tried to be the good neighbors, being patient and understanding and watching these people operate when they're not supposed to be operating, listening to these trucks. 5 o'clock this morning, it was a truck parade out here, the smell. I was like, this is like a punch in the gut. I was overwhelmed when they moved those asphalt plants to the front and they continually rub our faces in the mess. We're fed up. We're fed up as residents of this community, and we want action. That's it.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
The trucks were lined up at 5 a.m. this
They
morning?
were coming up South Main Street as a parade this morning.
Did you see them go into the quarry?
Yes, I did. And I watched them hauling out of there this morning.
Can you use the portal to make a complaint?
Absolutely.
Because when you said that was news to every one of us up here.
Absolutely, and there's neighbors that are on 25 South Main Street that can confirm my stories.
Again, if those are complaints, it's very difficult for us to know these complaints, and also for Keating to know. So when those complaints start coming in, they both see it, and we can take some type of action. Secondly, just so that you know, when they move the quarry forward, again, as I told you, an earlier speaker, it's a by right use of that property. So our permitting of that use was extraordinarily limited. It was basically a building permit. Maybe a little bit more, but it was essentially a building permit.
But they moved that asphalt plant to the front of the road before they even inquired about a building permit. They did it on their own, and we let that happen.
Well,
and why did we punish them? Why did we fine them?
I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that that truly is the case. And if it happened quite some time ago. I know that there has been back and forth with respect to building permits, with respect to structural engineering, and the building commissioner has required them to get the necessary permits. So
But they've already done what they've done. There should be a consequence for that.
they have the permits, and they've had the permits. They didn't
Gave them the permits.
Well, DEP gave them a permit for the plant, but as far as the building, the town gave them the permit because it's a by right use in that zone. And there's only a certain amount of criteria that we look at, structural and setbacks and the like, and they meet all those criteria. It's not, we can't, if you come in and want to get a permit to build a house, and I don't like the design of your house, as a building inspector, I can't say no. If you meet the requirements, setbacks, lot area coverage, height, etc., I gotta hand you the permit.
I mean, this is a toxic business. They're not gonna allow me to build a home on South Main Street on the sidewalk. I mean, there should have been something in place here. They're destroying this community.
Well, part of that would be the air quality plan and the DEP's review of the technical data to see what type of impact it would have on the environment. DEP undertook that review and has indicated and signed off on the permit. Keating had originally said, I think it was a minor modification, and maybe I'm not getting the words quite right. DEP looked at it and said, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. It wasn't, it's major, and that's why that asphalt plant did not run all summer long, because they were held up by DEP. They brought the permit, they finally got it issued through DEP. And now, when they're firing up, obviously we're getting a lot more complaints. DEP's gonna hear it, and there may be some additional enforcement, or there may be some additional steps that DEP will require to take. We are getting the nuisance complaints, and we are requesting and notifying Keating of these complaints, and the fact that they're gonna have to try to resolve these. But again, I mean, it's a big plant, as you correctly pointed out, and it's not likely we're gonna resolve these issues in the 3 weeks that they've come up. But my closing to you will be, please lodge those complaints.
Absolutely.
Instead of being right here and saying it's 5 AM, because none of us knew that.
Right.
We do have stipulations out there that allow hours, and they can't start at 5 AM.
We've been down that road, and they weren't allowed to operate on certain days, holidays, weekends, and they do what they want.
Well, they're not operating on Sundays, right?
Right now, they're not. Right now, they're not.
Right.
I mean, I've been here on South Main Street 11, maybe 12 years, in sleep deprivation. I mean, you hear these trucks morning, noon, and night, when they were in full operation, and listening to the equipment on site of the beeping for them backing up. I get it, it's a law, they have to have that. They don't live this nightmare that this community has to endure day in and day out.
We've been successful through some of the enforcement actions in the courts, the agreements in court, to limit the hours. You know, we have done quite a bit. We've gotten the air monitorings within the quarry. We've gotten the wheel wash. So, you know, we have gotten a lot. But if we don't know the issues, we can't talk with Keating, try to work with Keating to resolve those issues. So please, 5 AM, you know, document it and send it over, document it. And I know it can be a pain if you're calling up every single morning at 6 o'clock and saying, or dialing in, and, I mean, typing in or logging in, I guess is what I want to say, they're doing it again. They're doing it again. I know it's a pain, but it will be very helpful for everybody to know. And we can try to work with Keating, rather than having us find out at a meeting like this, oh yeah, they've been doing that for the last 3 months. It's like, oh geez, I wish you would have told me that.
Right. So the bottom line is, I think the residents were somewhat tolerable with the asphalt manufacturing in the back of the facility. And like I say, they moved it to the front, and they stirred this mess up themselves. We shouldn't have to ask them for a wheel wash, a truck wash, you know, the whole 9 yards. This is their business. We shouldn't have to ask them to do their job, to protect this community, is the bottom line here.
I don't disagree with you.
And I don't think the town should be asking for grants. Why should that fall on the town? This is their business. If they want to conduct business, stay in business, then do things the right way. There's a law, there are guidelines, and they haven't done that. They've proven it.
I understand.
That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Santos. I'm at 45 Lorraine. I actually just wanted clarification. What happened to the land use permit?
The Board of Selectmen denied the land use permit. The land use permit was to the storage, and they call it a land use permit, but I call it storage of inflammable liquids. They denied that. That has been appealed. And
So in the meantime, they can keep,
well, in the meantime, they're not storing liquid. What they're doing is they're driving it in on tanker trucks, and they're using the flammable liquid that day, and then driving the truck off. So they are not storing liquid on site.
okay.
The propriety or the whether or not that is a viable option that can placate the fire chief's concerns, we are working with Keating on that. The fire chief has requested additional information, and there is a back and forth on that to determine whether or not the fire chief can ultimately issue a cease and desist, or is provided with the necessary technical review wherein he feels comfortable in allowing that to move forward.
So when the DEP, you said that they were okay with everything, that they approved it, right? They said that they've met all their particular guidelines.
They did not approve the storage the way we're talking, but DEP's review was more for what's coming out of the stacks
Okay.
and its effect on the public health.
So the DEP doesn't have a say as far as the liquid asphalt being
No,
stored?
that would be fire marshal and/or local fire chief.
Thanks.
All right, who do we have next? She didn't speak. I'll get back to you, Kevin.
Hi, Patricia Lakaya, 95 South Main Street. My driveway is directly across from their north entrance. Talk about noise, it's ridiculous. What are the official hours that they're supposed to be open?
Take home by the step.
Yeah,
7 o'clock.
They just changed it, 7 o'clock.
They could be on the property at 6:30, but trucking starts at 7.
I believe trucking starts at 7, and I think it closes at 5?
5:30.
5:30. They're allowed to be on the property, though, earlier to do routine
6:30.
maintenance. 6:30.
Okay, so at 5:30 every morning, one of the gentlemen pulls up with his radio blaring in his truck, unlocks the gate, makes all kinds of clanging noises, pushes the gate so it slams against the post every stinking morning. I wake up to that. Besides the trucks coming in every day. There should be a limit of what time they can actually start making noise and bothering the neighbor.
It's supposed to be 7 o'clock.
Well, 5:30 they're unlocking and making the noise and the trucks start going in
At 5:30.
at 5:30.
Just have one comment to that question. There is a concrete...
Your name, please?
My name's Chris Souza. I have property in town. The mechanics do start early. The plant doesn't schedule any of the trucks till 7 a.m. That's when the first start time is. The gate is locked at the scale house, but there are some mechanics in the concrete plant that could possibly open that gate ahead of time. But the truck, there are no trucks scheduled to come in and out of there till 7 for the asphalt, to haul the asphalt or any quarry materials.
May I ask you a question?
I'll check with the concrete plant on
You
that.
have inside information, so to speak. Could you please tell those maintenance people that there are people who live in the area and they're sleeping at that hour? If you could please ask them to shut up their radio, not slam open the gate, and be courteous when they're pulling in.
I'm not sure if that's who's doing it. I just wanted to add that so everybody knows
But
that
if
it's not.
you could pass that along politely to people,
Please be a good neighbor.
Yes.
That's what we're asking.
I mean, it's not you
Understood.
personally, this is not a personal attack.
Yep.
I'm just asking because we have it in now, which is you.
Understood, that's early in the
Right,
morning.
and I'm gonna use that in.
But that's, again, what everybody needs to work together.
Well, exactly. So I'm
And
asking
figure out what the
you, as a
issue is,
courtesy, if you could ask whomever you may see on the plan to be respectful of this poor woman and everyone else in the neighborhood.
Understood.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Okay, so 7, there shouldn't be any trucks before 7.
You just heard that they don't load trucks until 7, which is what, consistent with the, which is consistent with the stipulation that was filed in the court.
So 7 to 7.
No, 7 to 5:30, I believe it is.
7 to 5:30.
No, they don't even lock their gates until after 7. The trucks are still going in way after 5:30.
All right, well, I'm just telling you what I believe the
It
stipulation
could be a
is.
little bit later than 5:30, but not much.
Well, I would have to check on
find out.
it, and I don't have it right with me right this second. But again, if, you know, if you have a complaint, you lodge the complaint, we'll bring up the stipulation, and we'll say to you, you know, you say, I'm complaining because there's trucks there and it's 5:15. We can get back to you and say, under the stipulation that we've filed, we've agreed that they can work till 5:30. So, you know, we'll let you know. But if you say it's 9:30 at night and there's 15 trucks lined up getting asphalt, then we'll have to have a conversation with them.
So, just one thing, when somebody's speaking and somebody up here is speaking, I'd like it to be quiet, keep your conversations down or silent until you get a chance to speak. Be respectful for the person that's up here.
So I have one other thing, when the trucks pull out, the asphalt trucks, you see the steam going off of it. That's the odor coming off of those trucks, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And it's, just last week, they had a spill right in front of the house, but they did clean it up within an hour. So, thank you.
Thank you. That one way.
Cheryl Hall, 58 South Main, just a clarification. You said that there's a stipulation regarding the specific hours of operation. Can you post that for us so that we know if we're filing complaints that they're outside of the regulation? And again, I mean, no disrespect, but I feel like that's something that you should have known coming in here today. Not, I think it's 7 a.m., just saying.
I think Kevin had his hand up.
You know, a lot of what we're hearing here is part of the misinformation. It's like all this, well, they did all this without permits. They didn't do this without permits. About 5 years ago, I believe, the selectmen went to town meeting and they passed the bylaw that gave them everything. Okay? Once they've done that, we can't just go back and say, oh, we're gonna rescind all that. It doesn't work that way. Like our attorney has said, this is a long drawn-out process. I've been in this since the beginning with the Board of Health. I've been to numerous meetings. It's a long process. And right now, what's going on here, some of it, you start attacking them, you start attacking the selectmen. That's exactly what PJ Keating wants. They're in this, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They're not going anywhere. Face that reality, everybody in this room, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to be closed down, but they have to be forced to be a good neighbor. So we have to ride this out for whatever it takes, because if we don't, if we self-destruct, they're going to be the ones that win. And if you think they've gotten away with everything now, then they're not going to be able to say anything to them. No one is. Even us, they're going to look at you and laugh and say, this isn't going to happen. We're going to do what we want. And right now, if you figure that place has no inventory, do you realize what the blasting situation would be like if they get away with this and they can do whatever they please and they get their blasting permits? So we need to support them.
Thank you.
Just okay, to make sure what we want, which is PJ Keating, who has been that way since the beginning, to be good neighbors. That's it. This all started, they had the permits, they forgot, because they had the three musketeers over there that didn't know what they were doing, put all this in place. They got all their permits except for their flammable liquid permits. That's the out the town had. Okay? So they can't do anything now because they forgot. But they've also been doing everything, you know, that they feel they're going to do and get away with because they were allowed to by a previous administration. They gave them everything.
Kevin, that was voted at town meeting by a two-thirds vote.
Yes, it was.
So
And it was
unfortunately, it wasn't presented.
I mean, I know you guys can't say certain things, that's why I'm trying to say what I know, because I've been involved since day one with a lot of what's going on here. So like I said, we all have to stick together and stick to our guns and support these guys and the select. And if they don't do what's right, yeah, we call them out on it. I've been to various meetings. You see how many people were in this meeting? I went to a meeting, I was the only person other than the town's attorney that was at the meeting. You can't do that. If you want to know what's going on,
You gotta be there.
you have to show up and you have to be there. Same thing with town meeting. We're struggling to have quorums at the town meeting, and I'm guilty of that. I can't always get there because of my work schedule. But don't come in and complain if you're not willing to step up and get involved.
Mr. Davinia has something to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. I just want to say something about the zoning change.
Yep.
It is a travesty that they're able to move the plant, the asphalt from the rear to the front. It is.
Yep.
And the town, I hate to say it, but the taxpayers were sleeping at the wheel when that happened.
100%.
No, they were misinformed.
But they, yes. And I'll tell you what really happened, okay? What I know, without naming names, the bylaw was generated by 3 town administrators ago. Okay? Somebody that was here for a long time, that wasn't looking out for the town. Okay? Didn't live in town either. He worked with the town planner, who's now retired, who also didn't work or live in town. You see, that there's a commonality going on here.
Right.
And there was another building official who was involved too. He's still here. He doesn't live in town either. They crafted this bylaw to change that zoning to industrial, which gave them the right to do whatever they wanted. When it came before the Board of Health, we put comments. They want comments from all the boards. And the first thing that struck me was, okay, if you're going to change the zoning, and it's in writing, it's in our records, and we sent the notes to whomever was doing, you know, the zoning change. Any structure that exists now shouldn't be moved any closer to the property lines to residences that exist now.
Right.
So that's it, they have by right to replace the asphalt plant where it was.
Right,
They have a by right to move the, the conveyor belt where it is, but don't shove it near somebody's property.
Right, that's what
They
I'm saying.
ignored, they ignored the comments, it went to town meeting, I think at the time we were told, well, it's too late to change the language, it's already put through. That makes sense to me, right?
Yeah, no,
Goes to town meeting,
The service.
we have 10,500 people live here, you know when people go to town meeting? Sometimes it's 80 people deciding a budget of $32 million for this town. It's insanity. I go and I sit there, I'm like, these people, they raise their hand because it sounds good, and because a few officials at the table tell you it's good for you. But that's what's wrong with this town. We don't get enough people to show up. We don't get the information really vetted, so that people, how is it gonna impact, when you make a zoning change, it really impacts people. This one was the biggest, dumbest zoning change on the planet,
Well, it
really.
impacted this whole south end.
And now we can't undo it. We have to work with what we got
The one
and
thing
try and
that
do the
came-
best we can.
The one thing that was expressed to me when all this started was, yes, they have the right to operate their business, they have, within the stipulations, and that, I get that. I'm not anti-business, I know there's probably people in this room that work for them. And that, I don't want to see anybody lose their job. It's a question of being a good neighbor. And they left it out there because this town, for years, did not have a dust mitigation plan with them, and there were other things that are required by the federal mining levels. So this all came to light as part of the meetings that they had with the people that live around here and with the Board of Health, the selectmen and all that. So they know what they have to do. And they actually refuse to do it. And I'm sorry to say, until they do, I don't feel bad for the workers need to put pressure on them as well. I know that's hard to do, being an employee versus the big corporate giant, but do the right thing. They know, and like somebody said, this is one of the worst operating plants that they own in New England. Everyone that said, oh, geez, you're right near them. Now, I've lived in this neighborhood through Warren Brothers, Tilcon Capaldi, and now them. Never had any problems with Tilcon or Warren Brothers. We had boulders, they had a blasting problem one year, where for whatever reason, it sent a 150-pound boulder over my house. It was, you'd swear you had incoming. I was out front working, I just moved in, this was probably 1983. They were there like that. 3 years later, or maybe more than that, when it was changing from Tilcon to these guys, we had an incident. My dog kennel was taken down by a rock. I was working in West Bridgewater, 45 minutes away. My wife called me and told me what happened. I told her to call the quarry. Well, she said they were all out to lunch. I said, they're all out to lunch. I drove home 45 minutes away. They still hadn't been there, and I made a phone call. You either have somebody over here in 2 minutes, or your next call you're going to receive is from my attorney. They came over and they fixed the problem. We shouldn't have to start threatening them because they don't care. First off, the corporate headquarters is in Ireland. They don't care because it doesn't matter. They've also changed the name on the sign, if anybody's noticed.
Yeah.
Okay? So that means there's a different company that's swapped around.
Got another question here.
So,
This young lady.
Linda Rose and I live on 38 Pleasant Street. Just, the issue is what this gentleman was talking about, is that at the time that they gave permission for them to like start operating and expanding their whatever, no one was notified that the town meeting was going to make that. Obviously, all these people would have showed up.
And then some.
But we weren't notified. That was like slid under like some sort of sleazy cat slinking around.
That's basically how they do it. It's unfortunate, but that's how town government works.
We weren't even,
Well,
once it's done, it's a done deal.
It's a zone-
You never change the,
It's a zoning bylaw, and under a zoning bylaw that if you have a use, in use and/or a structure, if the zoning bylaw changes, it's what's known as grandfathered, it's protected. Secondly, with respect to notice, I mean, there are state laws that require notifications for town meeting. They post the warrant on the bulletin boards in front of town hall. So it was posted, you know, I know that you don't like it, but I don't know that there's a lot of other ways to do it. The zoning bylaw changes require a hearing before the planning board where butters are noticed. So there were numerous opportunities for the town to look at this and to, you know, register their approval or their complaint. And then, of course, at town meeting, when you go there, you can vote for or against it. So there was a significant amount of notice, which is built right into the law.
I don't think about the meeting, what was actually at the meeting. They might have announced the meeting, but I don't think
No,
they
but
actually
in-
said, this is what's gonna happen if you do an industrial zoning. That's what they needed to do. And this abutment thing, because anybody that's on the other side is not connected to that, which is bullshit, because, excuse my language, sorry, because I'm on the opposite side of the road, only less than a half a mile away.
Right.
And you're gonna tell me that I'm not gonna get notified for something that's right next to my house?
Yeah.
Just because I'm not on the same damn side of the street?
Well, unfortunately, that's not under our jurisdiction, so I mean, that's, I know what you're saying. I got a question back.
Excuse
What was
me,
this
I haven't
gentleman's?
finished, then you...
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let her finish. Hold on.
All right, I just wanted to know who the town official that contacts the DEP is. Which...
Excuse me?
Who contacts DEP from the town?
The Board of Health?
Yeah, it will depend. I think there are multiple contacts from the town.
What town employee contacts the DEP?
Like I say, it depends. Oftentimes it's the health agents, sometimes it's the town administrator, depending upon what the matter is and who needs to be contacted.
So if it's an odor matter, who then contacts the DEP?
When we send out our notices, the DEP is copied on them, and we just recently reached out to them over those, what you're calling tar balls. I think both agents reached out to DEP over those tar
So
balls.
if it's an odor issue, the health agents will reach out to DEP. If it ends up being a dust problem in the future.
It depends. It will depend on who we're gonna contact and why we're contacting them. There's no set, this is who's the contact with DEP. Each one, you know, depending upon the issue, will contact DEP. But most of the time, lately, it's been the health agents copying and letting DEP know.
Okay, so
All right,
for
can I-
clarification, all town administration is capable and has authority to contact DEP. Is that clear?
Anybody can contact DEP.
All right, I want to let this gentleman speak.
Bob for 27 Union Street off South Main Street. I've been a resident there for about 46 years now, and we've had dust problems and all that, and now we're starting to get the fumes. But I've been complaining at the town hall and the town meetings, 'cause I go to town meetings all the time, and when they were building 195, they have a dirt road that went through the back. And I've been complaining that that would take 90% of the traffic for the trucks going through there and creating a big dust storm. They told me at first that couldn't do it because there was they had animals that were living there and all that, but that's crap, because it's all paved, not paved, but it was all, they've been using that thing for years when they were building 195. Then they gave all kinds of excuses. Then they wanted to go through behind the Century House and build a road that, it's crazy. But where I am off South Main Street, I can't open the windows in the summertime. I have to, for the air conditioning, I have to keep changing my filters. The smell, I get the dust. I got a motorhome. I spent almost $7,000 repairing the motorhome because of the roof. That stuff lands on the roof, on thing, it gets damp, turns into cement. Now you start scraping it off, now you start ruining my roof. I had the roof repaired twice in the last 10 years, $3,000 at a time. I mean, it's just crazy. My wife, if I open the windows and the TV and stuff like that, within a half an hour, if my wife does dusting in the morning, by the time the afternoon comes, or I come home from lunch or something, dust all over the place. It's crazy. Half the dust from the trucks, and when they wash them trucks, all that water runs down the driveway, across the street, into where it goes out. All that pollution is going out into the Acushnet River.
Yes.
Nobody's saying anything about that. It's just crazy what they're doing over there, you know. And the problem is, a lot of people in this town do not go to the town meetings. We struggle like heck to have a quorum. I'm on the finance committee, and every meeting that we have, town meeting, we have to wait and call people that call, you know, to have a quorum. And that's how things get snuck by. You know, the people in the town have to come to the meetings. The town meetings are very important, not only for the quarry and all that, but everything that goes through the town. You have to go to the town meeting and, you know, see what's going on. Raise your hand if you get questions. That's all, you know. But if they could open up that road back there, that would take a lot of the pollution, the dust from the trucks and everything. They wouldn't have to wash the truck. They'd come in and out the back road there. Then they said that the state would not open that up for a private company. That was another thing that they said. But they did it when they were building the road, when they were going to use it. But for safety, Keating or whatever it was, they're not doing it. That's all, you know, it's just crazy what they're doing. So. But people go to the town meeting, they can talk and get things done. If not, they just slide it under the table and that's it, it's done. Thank you.
Someone say
Hi, I'm Megan Owens. I work with Representative Chris Hendricks. I don't live in Acushnet. Representative Chris Hendricks and I do feel your pain. We've been working on this. I've only been with him since this past summer. So I'm fairly new to this whole situation, but from what I've heard, I just want to say that I feel for you guys. I completely sympathize with what you're going through, and no one should have to go through this. But does anybody want the number for Mass DEP? Okay, so it's very simple. I mean, I did it right now on my phone. I just looked up Mass DEP number. So it's,
But is that don't give them the general line.
No, there's a Southeast Regional Office.
Okay, but it's got to be a specific number if you're going to ask people to call DEP. I know this from experience. You just call the main line, you're not going anywhere.
Megan.
Anywhere soon.
Well,
Give him Millie Garcia's phone number. She's the regional director.
Millie Garcia?
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna love that.
Okay.
And I'd give him Martin Suberg's number. He's the commissioner in
Yes,
Boston.
I know who Martin Suberg is.
Marty will call people back.
Now, can we have this posted?
Hold
so
on for a
everyone's aware?
second.
And the number is?
Well, I'm a part of the Facebook page. I can post, are you a part of the?
A lot of people aren't, and
That's
a
the
lot of
thing,
people don't go on
people don't have
Facebook.
Come see me after, I will give you
So
the
I
phone
need,
number.
we need actual.
Yep, she'll give it to you after.
Sure.
Thank you.
Let this gentleman speak.
Please do it both ways.
All right,
Yeah,
we're gonna let this gentleman speak, please.
Good afternoon, Chuck Shestak, 11 Martell Street, right off of Pembroke. I'm listening to a lot of people speak their mind about frustrations, and communication is very important to get to a point that you want to get to. So, no one seems to know who to call, what to do. I know there's different portals. You can go online, town, phone number. I think we need to backtrack a little bit and go a little bit old school and use snail mail. Have a letterhead with pinpoints of the town phone number, a website, who to call at the DEP. Yeah, it's going to cost the town a little bit of money, but hey, I'll volunteer and spend a little bit of money myself so people get notified properly. Not everybody has access to internet. Not everybody communicates to each other. Like, we see all the same people almost all the time come to these meetings, so it's a small group. And for what it's worth, Acushnet isn't the only people that are affected by this. you got Fairhaven, you got New Bedford. So why not contact the city of New Bedford, the town of Fairhaven, come together and create one kind of a letterhead that has all these points of contact information, who they can call for an odor, for a dust, for a sound, or where they need to go, and just put it on one letter, send it out, right? Kind of makes sense. Because if you tell somebody, oh, go online, or call this number, and if they don't go, or tell them on there what TV station to listen to, right? So they can watch the meeting online, or on TV. So I really think that, from my thought process, that would be a great avenue to follow. I'll donate my time and put a stamp or put someone's name sticker on a letter so it can get mailed. If it's, that kind of an issue where, nobody has time to do that kind of thing. So that's my first point. My second point is the odor is real, okay? I've made several complaints. At one point in time, I had someone from the Board of Health and PJ Keating show up, and PJ Keating was like, there's no odor. Well, one, you're calling me a liar, which is
Gaslighted.
not right. I don't want to be here today. None of us do. We're not making this up. We just want to live our normal lives. We want to be able to, I got leaves to pick up. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do that either, but it's a lot. And for what not, everybody here is tired, as well as you. But we can't stop. And I just want to be on record that I'm not a liar, that I do make complaints because I smell. My nose works. PJ Keating, when they go there, they will say it does not smell. Well, obviously, because they don't want to accuse themselves of doing something wrong. Lastly, I've noticed a couple people here, I don't know all the details, mentioning how they're finding tar on their property or their vehicles. Vandalism? Yeah, maybe, right? That's one way to look at it. You got, potentially, if it's coming from PJ Keating, right? We don't know all the answers, right? So it's destroying or harming the surrounding area. If this tar is in the air and it's falling on soil. It could be contaminating soil or water or the surrounding area. And I think you need to start looking at that aspect too. Because now we're moving from odor and dust to now tar polluting the surrounding area. So if that's what's happening, is there a process that you guys could start looking into that? And how can you measure potentially how much tar, if it's coming from PJ Keating, because we can't prove it just yet, how that can be taken care of? Okay.
We are looking into that. We absolutely are looking into that.
Thank you.
Christian D'Souza, 46 Lord King Ave. I'd just like a little clarification from the town attorney. Regarding the change in the zoning from what it was to the industrial, which apparently gives the town no control. Is that correct? No control on what is, happens to the residents? First of all.
Well, you're mixing apples and oranges there, all right? A zoning change allows a certain property to be used in a certain way. Here, they're allowed specifically by zoning to put in an asphalt plant to put in a quarry. The effect on residents is clearly within the authority of the Board of Health, all right? There are certain acceptable limits that we have throughout the Commonwealth, throughout the country with respect to the particles, dust, noise, and the like. But when it goes above that, that's clearly a Board of Health issue. That's why the Board of Health is now active in this because we are getting those odor complaints that appear to be above what is allowed and the norm. So that's where we are. So the apples and oranges is, just because it's a by right use of a property doesn't mean you can use it such that it impinges upon the rights of others.
So now, the zoning was changed through an article on the town warrant.
That's correct.
Right. And you're saying that there's no mechanism to change the zoning again?
No, we're not saying that at all.
If it went before town meeting? Is that possible?
You can absolutely do it, but
It could be-
but hold on, the issue becomes, as I think somebody over here asked me, the issue becomes what is known as a protected right. So if you change zoning, if we change zoning where your house is to suddenly say that there's no residence allowed, you would be allowed to keep your residence there because it was at one time lawful. It becomes what is known as a lawful pre-existing non-conforming use. So if you're sitting here speculating that you would like to change zoning and so that you could get rid of the asphalt plant and the quarry, they have vested rights now, and that's not something that you can do.
But Jeff,
Okay,
if
so-
zoning was changed.
Okay, what
back
was
to
the
what it
prior zoning?
Yeah, good question.
What was the prior zoning on that property?
I'm not 100% sure, but this wasn't.
Wasn't it a residential zoning prior? So as
the
a
quarry
residential
was-
zoning, would the residents not have protected rights as well?
I don't know I mean, rather than doing a cross-examination of me, just tell me what your point is,
I'm
because
just trying to clarify what the exact zoning was prior to the industrial zoning.
Christian, at one point in time, the whole town was just residential. We didn't have any zoning districts. And then over time, it's evolved where we've created zoning districts.
So
And that
the
changed.
prior zoning,
I believe it was residential.
again,
Originally it was
is
residential.
grandfathered to who it applied to. Am I not correct?
well, I don't.
Oh, it's, yeah.
The pre-existing, the quarry was a pre-existing non-conforming use, as
Right.
was the asphalt.
Right, but the prior zoning gave more power to the residents of the town as to what transpired on the property. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
So that would be grandfathered as well,
No. No. No.
apples and oranges, right?
Right, no, it wouldn't be grandfathered as well. It would be now an allowed use versus not having been an allowed use. If you have a pre-existing non-conforming use, there are constraints to expanding, reconstructing, the like of that
Right.
pre-existing non-conforming use.
Right.
All right? So so the day
non-conforming.
that the town changed the zoning to allow this to be as of right,
Conformity.
Well, but in the change, it allowed Keating, per se, to do what they want without any oversight from the town.
no, I don't think that it's,
Then how did they build a plant 350 feet from the, from?
because it was allowed by zoning. But you say
Okay.
any oversight, right? There's Board of Health stuff, there's DEP stuff, there's, the
So-
quarries and asphalt plants are probably some of the most heavily regulated industries
I'm
in the
not arguing
Commonwealth.
that at all, no, I'm not arguing that. My issue is the 12, 14, 16 hours of contamination that everyone has to endure on a daily basis.
Listen, and I agree with you on that. And what we need to do is, I think you have even said it yourself, or one of the prior speakers said, is we need to investigate that. Because we are getting X happening to properties, but now we have to figure out if it's coming from, what the cause is. And then once we figure out what the cause is, and then we can take steps to abate that cause.
So are there no bylaws in the town regarding detrimental effects of an establishment on the residents? Is that just?
It's more of a Board of
Not-
Health issue. It's more of a Board of Health issue.
So there isn't a bylaw
I don't know that there is a bylaw, no, that,
reads that, you know,
they often aren't. Most towns don't have them. That's something that the Board of Health handles as a nuisance, a public nuisance.
Yeah, I think he's asking about the soil bylaw.
Oh, then if you're asking about the soil, but there's a soil bylaw out there that regulates how they are, how they have to
in
operate.
particular. Okay.
Yeah.
And would that not apply to the detriments that we're enduring?
It may. You just recently.
As a means of, you know, enforcement?
You just recently changed that bylaw, the effective date of that for purposes of moving forward under the new bylaw. I think I think January 1st is going to be when that becomes effective.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's a seismic tester behind my garage. And up until March of this year, it was being checked on. And it was being repaired once every 2 or 3 weeks. Are those things actually working now, or are they just a relic?
They haven't been blasted.
Yeah, they're not blasted.
So, I mean, at this point,
It shouldn't even be there.
yeah, it shouldn't be there. Until they start blasting again, that's specific for blasting. To see if, you know, how much, if it's staying within that Z-curve over where you are.
And the other question I had is, how many times a week are they going to be blasting once they go back into production?
That's gonna be part of the soil permit. So that's what Jeff was just talking about in the bylaw, the soil bylaw, that's coming up in January. But it's also part of what's going on with court too.
That's not our board, though.
That's
No,
not,
no,
that's
that's
not
the
our
select
department.
It's up to the board of selectmen.
It's a Board of Selectmen's issue.
Does anybody look at the chart that comes off of that machine?
Yeah, it's submitted to the fire department every time, because it needs, whenever a shot goes off or a blast goes off, it has to stay underneath a very specific amount of vibration. And that is constantly reviewed by the fire department. Chief Gallagher's actually even did some discussion and comments on it on his Facebook page to just kind of inform everybody what's going on. And it's constant, that is constantly monitored. And that's by their blasting company, which is separated from PJ Keating.
Just to add to that, Joe, if I may, every shot is also videotaped.
Yep.
And that all goes through the fire chief.
Yep.
They've been doing that now, well, since 6 months before they were stopping the blasting.
Yeah.
And you can actually look on, I don't know if it's on the fire, I think it's the fire department's webpage.
Yep.
There's a list of every shot that they've done, the videotape is there, so you can actually see what happens if you want. I don't know about the seismic readings, that's something, but that all goes, as soon as it happens, it goes. And Mr. Baker is correct, that thing, when they were blasting, was being repaired more than I think it was working.
That kind of brings up an idea of the allowed surveillance of the blasting. Could we negotiate something to put some surveillance on the production of the asphalt and what's happening at this point in time? That number one. They claim they're doing things by the book and they're being a good neighbor. Maybe we'd like to sit and see this visually, part one.
We have the right to
Second
inspect.
question is, the official hours of operation, now they've been in violation with that, and that's proof right here from this morning, correct? Is there going to be a violation issued? And if so, what becomes of that violation fine when it's paid? Can that money then be turned back into equipment to monitor some of this asphalt, whatever the case may be? For the violation funds to be directly allocated towards enforcement and more oversight without it coming from grants that should be used for other purposes?
Sure. The violation would be a violation of the court stipulation. And in order for us to get fines from that, we would have to petition the court for those fines, for a complaint for contempt. We've already moved once on a complaint for contempt, and both parties cross-moved, and both parties were unsuccessful.
So I'm confused, they can't...
Can I have quiet in the back, please?
The town can't go and issue a violation for anything that's happening at this point? Is there any enforcement? What enforcement's happening right now? I'm kind of lost here on the enforcement part.
There are a couple of different, just because you enforce doesn't automatically entitle you to fines, okay? And depending upon the fine, if it's a violation of a bylaw, and we have adopted section 21D, we can write what are known as tickets. Most of the violations that we're talking about here are violations of a court's stipulation, a court's order. And notwithstanding that everybody in here said that the trucks are leaving at 5, that they're lining up at 5 o'clock, we would have to go to a court and prove that there was a violation by having people like you come in and testify. It's just not self-authenticating. And that is because everybody's entitled to due process. They're entitled to come in, a notice and an opportunity to be heard. They're entitled to come in and say, no, you didn't do it.
So when I break the law, I'm entitled to due process, so the police aren't gonna write me a ticket and give me a violation.
And then you go to...
do whatever I wanna do.
Yeah, but then you have the ability to go to court, right? You've gotten a ticket before, and you notice right at the very bottom it says you can either pay it or you can go to court.
Correct.
Going to court, notice of the violation, opportunity to be heard is going to court. So you get it. You all of us. It's a fundamental basis in our Constitution. Notice and an opportunity to be heard, so that we aren't the judge, jury, and executioner.
So how many violations have been filed?
How many violations have been filed?
In the last 2 months, how many violations have been filed by the town against PJ Keating?
We have received, how many complaints? 30, 40, 50 complaints. We have gone through the process of attempting to get them into compliance by issuing notices, and ultimately those notices could turn into a cease and desist.
Okay, so the first step is, please don't do this again.
Yep.
Second is slap on the wrist.
Yep.
Third will give you a ghost violation.
No, third would probably be a cease and desist, stop doing what you're doing, and if they don't, then we're back into court again. That's kind of the general overview. I'm certainly not going to give you all the strategy, but those are the options for moving forward.
Thank you.
Nuisance is not a bylaw violation, so there's not likely that we're going to be able to issue what are known as tickets.
Thank you.
How much money, seriously, can this town lose and has lost already on, you guys trying to help us? You guys have come a long way in helping us, and no disrespect, I know that your hands are tied because of the lawsuit right now.
Well, I want to take
different aspects, though, of, saying certain things. And the thing is that it angers me as a resident that 12 of our town officials are being sued by PJ Keating. That, to me, is very disrespectful, and it's not being a good neighbor from them.
Not a good neighbor.
At all. If they wanted to be good neighbors, they would not be calling us liars, saying we don't smell anything. My asthma's kicking up. When I do end up on oxygen, I'm gonna be the one turning around having you sue them. And for the damages on my car, from all the tar on my car. And who's gonna come and test the tar on my car? I heard I need an ounce of it to be tested. Who's gonna come and test it?
We are currently working through that situation right now. Right now, we are attempting to address that situation through the various channels. I'm not going to go any further than that.
My grandson's 7 years old. He cannot go out in the backyard and play whatsoever because he has RAD, which is rapid airway disease, And, you know, if it's on my car, you know it's on his swing set, you know it's on all the toys in my yard. That's all I have to say.
Thank
Sad.
you. We're coming up on noon. I'm going to take a couple more, if you have any. Well, that's up to them. Is there anybody else with any more questions? I think we've covered as much as possible. We're kind of restricted for what we can say, and I did have a lot to say, but I just can't do it. I think Jeff Blake covered it the way I would normally do, but we're trying to do the best we can. We have one question in the back.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like Kevin said, you're the reason why we got what we did get. We know that. We might be cranky, we might be, you know,
I
frustrated,
understand.
but we do know that you have been trying, you've been the only barrier to this not being a free-for-all, so we do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Amen.
I want to thank Joe Correa, Pat Hannon, Jeff Blake, Bob Maderas, David Davinian for doing the best that we can to get this corrected, and we will continue to keep working at it as hard as we can. And I want to thank everybody for coming today. And again, what we'll probably do, we'll try to set up another meeting so we can do more, have more information for you, and we will definitely get some of the reports out to you as time goes on, maybe on a couple weeks basis, or however Joe works it out. But Joe will work out some way to get you people information as we go on. So I know that was a big question from everybody, so.
Last question.
Okay.
If we're gonna have another meeting, can we have more than a, week's notice? So that we can maybe plan to put up signs and to put things out for people to know.
Yep, we can do
If you guys
that.
can't do it besides the reverse call, then, you know.
We're gonna work on that, and we'll work on getting that notice out to the residents.
I was gonna say, I can do that. I mean, I can help mail flyers if need be. The only problem is the cost of stamps, you know, for me, so.
I think we can find.
I'd be willing to do that.
We can find the resources to do a mailing list. We just kind of wanted to, we did this quickly, but we really wanted to contact and make everybody aware of what was going on because of the issues.
Okay.
So it unfortunately was done that way. We did, of course, get to a lot of you people.
So who are you going to contact? The entire town, correct?
Well, yeah, that's basically how we're going to have to do it, but we're going to discuss that and we'll see how we can come up with a plan.
I'm willing to
thank you.
help anyone.
Okay, great.
Also, Tom, thank you for pulling this meeting together, and also thank you for the Board of Health, getting a health agent in to help us with these issues. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor? So voted. Thank you.